Test, 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 test. Okay. All right, let's call this meeting to order. This is a Doraville City Council meeting being held at the current location of Doraville City Hall on September 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I'd like to remind everyone that Doraville is proud to be a city of civility. While differences of opinion are natural, let us approach each other with open minds, speak with courtesy, and treat one another with dignity and respect. Respect is the foundation of good governance, and we thank you all for upholding the spirit of civility with us. That I'll call the roll. Mayor Geierman, I'm here. Councilmember Henshaw?
Here.
Councilmember Evans?
Here.
Councilmember Kuntz?
Here.
Councilmember Armistead?
Here.
Councilmember Ray? Here. And Councilmember Simmons is absent. However, we think he'll be here soon. I'd like to ask everyone in the room to please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Well, we have a couple of presentations, starting with one that I'm going to give. So I will come down to the podium. I would like to ask our library staff to come up and join me. Hey. Thank you all for being here after hours. We're here to celebrate Georgia Reads Day, and think it's very fitting now that the library has moved to its new location to have members of library staff receive this proclamation. I'm going to read it very quickly, then give them a chance to speak if they would like to. Reading is a foundational skill that opens doors to knowledge, imagination, and opportunity, strengthening individuals, families, and communities. Georgia Reads Day is an opportunity to highlight the importance of literacy for people of all ages, inspire a lifelong love of books, and recognize the role reading plays in academic success and personal growth. Doraville Library staff play a vital role in promoting literacy and supporting readers of all ages within our community. The Doraville Library staff exemplify this dedication to literacy, including Erica Relaford, who shares her passion for learning with patience and care, Dan Arnold, whose 4 years of service demonstrate commitment and energy, and Anthony Navarrete, a quick learner and reliable hand whose eagerness ensures a bright future. Promoting reading supports not only education, but also economic development and civic engagement, ensuring that Georgia continues to grow as a state of opportunity, innovation, and inclusion. And on Georgia Reads Day, residents are encouraged to dedicate time to reading with children, friends, and neighbors, and celebrate the joy and benefits of that books bring into our lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Joseph Geierman, Mayor of the City of Doraville, Georgia, on behalf of the Doraville City Council, do hereby proclaim September 10th, 2025 is Georgia Reads Day in Doraville, and I call upon all Georgians and Doraville residents to participate in activities that promote literacy and foster a love of reading. So it's my honor to present these to each of you. I think we're going to take a quick picture. I'd like to invite any of you to say a few words, or Sloan, if you want to come say something.
I have a really good group with me working in the library. We've got a really nice upgraded space next door. I think we're just really happy to be involved, and for the city to include us in things. So thank you and thank them.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we have Chief Harris and Chief Atkinson are going to do a presentation with our police. So we look forward to that.
That's something weird.
Mayor Geierman.
We might need to move, like just push it over a little bit.
Mayor Geierman.
Try moving the mic to the side.
Mayor Geierman. Mayor Geierman, City Council members, guests, citizens of Doraville, welcome to the September 10th, 2025 award ceremony. On behalf of the Chief of Police, Charles Atkinson, I'm Assistant Chief B.C. Harris, your MC for tonight's ceremony. Would the officers please come forward? Sergeant Miguel Hanau is awarded the Chief Star for superior accomplishment. In April of 2025, Sergeant Hanau took the lead on an overdose case involving a fentanyl death of a juvenile. These cases are very complicated, extremely difficult to work and prosecute due to the parties involved being reluctant to cooperate. His attention to detail and thoroughness led him to secure 11 arrest warrants for the people involved in the incident, to include warrants for murder for those who provided a lethal dose of fentanyl. Since the initial warrants were obtained, he continued to work with the DA's office, the victim's family, to ensure a successful prosecution of the individuals responsible. During this case, he maintained a critical workflow of the Criminal Investigation Division, management of all cases, while training 2 new detectives. Sergeant Hanau's drive, professionalism, and investigative attention to detail were exceptional. And this next award you've heard before, Sergeant Pike is such a good leader. He literally made sure that the officers were taken care of first, although he was an active participant in the life-saving measures. So, Sergeant Pike is awarded the Life-Saving Medal for superior accomplishment on April 2nd, 2025 at 4343 Tilly Mill Road, the Home Depot. A person down was dispatched. Within seconds, Officer Maddox saw the victim, later identified as John Polker, lying down unconscious in the loading area of the Home Depot. Officer Maddox immediately requested EMS and began CPR. He was quickly joined by his supervisor, Sergeant Pike, assisting and administering CPR on the victim until they could be assisted by 2 GBI agents. While administering the CPR, an AED was brought in to assist in reviving the victim. Eventually, the CAB Fire Rescue arrived and took over the scene. The victim was transported to Northside Hospital, and as we saw at one of our council meetings, he is alive and well today. Congratulations. Detective Kimberly Harris is awarded the Chief Star for his superior accomplishment. She was the lead detective in August 2023 involving the stranger-to-stranger kidnapping and sexual assault, culminating in a vehicle pursuit and pit maneuver. Diligently working the sensitive case, gathering evidence, and subsequently winning an evidentiary suppression hearing. With her expert testimony, the suspect was found guilty, sentenced to 2 life sentences without parole. In July 2024, she was the lead detective working in conjunction with the DeKalb DA's office and Department of Homeland Security of an online sexual predator. She successfully arrested a suspect for multiple counts of storing graphic child sexual abuse material on his electronic devices. From April 2024 to December 2024, she was the lead detective in the Dr. Kim sexual assault serial case that spanned 9 months, involving 17 victims, leading to the successful arrest of the suspect while shutting down his business. She demonstrated an unwavering commitment to solving multiple complex sex crimes cases, often going above and beyond to ensure justice was served. That concludes our ceremony. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take just a brief moment to try to adjust the podium before we get to public comment so that folks who want to make public comment aren't having to listen to feedback. Room who wishes to make public comment to please come up to the podium, and you can have up to a total of 3 minutes to speak on any topic.
Susan Crawford, it works. Susan Crawford, Oak Cliff. I'm not going to talk about zoning, but I did want to say, I've noticed that the trash and the things that people were throwing out on the street aren't there, at least in Oak Cliff where we live. So whatever you've done, it's working. Thank you very much. And I wanted to thank Chris for being a wonderful city manager, and we will miss him. Thank you. And the street sweeper. Thank you for that. And I was happy to see that there's something about trees on the agenda. We really need that. I remember a time when you couldn't cut down a tree unless it was diseased or sort of in danger of falling on your house, or there was an actual reason. And so many times I hear the and I think, oh God, and by the time I find out where it's coming from, there's 12 trees down or something. So I'm really glad to see that on the agenda. And thank you.
Yeah. Next, just come to the podium, state your name, where you live, and you can have up to 3 minutes.
Finally, I'm mobile. Means I'm dangerous. Tom Hart, Gordon Heights. There's a couple things on the agenda. One is the tree ordinance, that we had a valuable tree ordinance protected the trees in the city, and somehow that got lost to what we had 10 years ago. In the downtown area you're about to destroy, all those trees were planted using tree fund money. They're specimen trees, and they can be easily moved and planted someplace else. They have those big scoopers that scoop them up and move them. All the city buildings have new assets that were just put in there in the last 5 years, from air conditioning to doors, windows, etc. There's assets there that could be used by the citizens of the city or sold. Instead, we're just going to run a bulldozer over everything. All this is incorrect way to do a development. That's not how it's done. The GM site got $12 million paid to the demo team for the assets that were on that site. That is not being done with a downtown development. You don't really have a plan. I have the original plans for the traffic light located at Central Avenue and Chestnut. For those that are new to the city, Chestnut's name before it was changed was Central Avenue. It was changed in 1957. I have those original plans. I aligned the street on this side, and matter of fact, WSB TV did a story on it that asked the question, where's the traffic light? They got a sidewalk on both sides. How do you get there? And that's why it became the sidewalk to nowhere. Here again, we're going to take out a street that's going to be gone for 2 years. So the only traffic light connection between New Peachtree and Beaver Highway is gone. So if this was a planned situation here, you would have put the traffic light at Central long before you start this construction project, which just tells me there's no plan. So normally you would put the city hall on top of the hill and the apartments down below. In the city of Doraville, it puts the city hall in the hole and put the apartment buildings on top of the hill. I mean, there's not a plan here. And you can tell by the budget because it escalates 5 million, 10 million, 15, 20, 35. We're going to be to $60 million before we're out the door of this thing. There's no plan, there's no budget, there's no consideration for the assets in the downtown for this development. And we need a response from the city council what they're going to do about that. I have the plans for that traffic light. You can put that in 10 days, along with GDOT. And I've made phone calls to the city manager. He refuses to return my phone calls. So I'd like to have a response from the city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, is there anyone online? Oh, sure. Just state your name and where you live.
Good evening, council members. My name is Damian Harper. I live in the community Chateau, which is actually formerly in Dunwoody, I know. But the issue I'm bringing forward is an issue that involves both Dunwoody and Doraville at the same time. And it is just in reference to Nancy Creek, just past the intersection of Tilly Mill and Peachtree Dunwoody intersection. And realistically, I'm just here to address the nature of of the poor condition that Nancy Creek has been in for quite some time. It was first labeled back in 2002 by the EPA as a impacted waterway. And the problem really is it's over the past 2 decades, it's just really exacerbated. There's been a sewage spill in 2011, sewage spill in 2017, sewage spill in 2019 as well. And so Nancy Creek has really been officially listed as that impaired waterway, and we're just progressively seeing this issue get worse. And that's understandable that a city can go through growing pains. I've realistically only been living here a year, but I kind of pride myself in walking the streets. I find myself an environmental person, and I like to see the community in which I live. But I think it's unusual how used to this that we have become at this point in time, that anyone can walk over to the site and see a shopping cart lodged in the River Creek bed right now. And there's trash piling up under the overpass as well that runs over that creek. So I understand the growing pains of a city when it comes to budgeting, and when it comes to these things. These issues have greatly outlasted council members before you and council members before them as well. But I believe that we can decide to deal with this issue and get over an issue that's persisted for the past 20 years as well. So I believe that this council can begin coordinating with cities to assess and rehabilitate Nancy Creek. That's just a long-term plan. But short-term, we can start by clearing debris and restoring vegetation buffers and removing visible trash along the Doraville Dunwoody border. And I mean, I'd personally like to get involved in that. If you guys would provide the organization to it, if you guys would look into it and see how feasible it is for you to do. It's a big task, I'm sure, but it starts with the decision, and it's for someone to go ahead and start to do it. That commitment will create action. I think we owe it to those downstream. We also owe it to our environment, and we owe it to the residents of the city.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room that wishes to make public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? All right, we're going to close public comment. I'll just see, does council have anything that anyone wants to say after public comment? I think I'll just mention that Buford Highway is the one that's responsible for location of stoplights, or GDOT is responsible for location of stoplights along Buford Highway. If I had my way, we would have had a stoplight there a long time ago on Chestnut and Buford Highway. However, GDOT is not in favor of that right now, and we're building a case to convince them. So it's not a back and forth. That's just the fact as I see it. All right. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone like to make a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Consent agenda passes. All right. Next up is city manager report.
Yes, sir. Start out with the city center. As you've seen, the site is fenced off. They're actually working in the former city hall, currently removing asbestos and lead paint. So we are moving along. I'm hoping Choate will nail down a date so we can have our demo party. So just scared to say until we know for sure, but that's a good sign. We got the security trailer is installed today. So if you go by there and you see something kind of funky, it's a trailer with a telescopic little thing with 4 cameras up there. Officers can monitor it. Dispatch can monitor it because we've already made one arrest, somebody trespassing on the site, and we're having issues all around there. So also walk the site with Site Solutions. They're our landscape architects, and looked at some trees that we're going to flag and see if we can save them. You can't go past a certain size, and you can't dig them. Most of them aren't going to last. So try to find areas on the fringes of the property where hopefully we could leave them in place and then spade them and directly plant them. So we are trying to do that if possible, and should be close. Choate is working on their cost estimate and has been on the building and the rest of the site work. So hope to get that soon. Going back to the issues around the site, we are seeing for some reason seems to be a lot more homeless people in town, more issues. We're walking the site. There was somebody that set up camp by the pool underneath that place. There was another person, the old Galloway Hardware there too. And anecdotally, MARTA has changed some of their policies and they're flip-flopping trains with their conductor or whatever you call the MARTA person. So instead of just at night of kicking everyone off, each train they're clearing at our station. So that may be part of what's going on. And then Atlanta's been aggressively clearing up camps as well. So, so anyway, we're doing the best we can, but we have seen break-ins and other things. Code enforcement, been working on their business license checks. So they're doing that around town, make sure people do have their OTCs. We had an issue, the churches on McElroy had people in a structure that wasn't a dwelling, only one means egress, so worked through that. Have gotten several compliments from residents at Aspen Commons, so they've been appreciative of being in the city and code enforcement helping with issues in their neighborhood. So that's always nice to get. Working through some agreements with school district. Austin's been working with them. One is, if you recall, we looked at this property a while back. The school district evidently has a contract now with Trust Property. They're off of St. Stewart, above the high school. So that wooded area there, they're going to buy it. And they're agreeing to give us the easement to continue the trail up through that property, which is really good. And then also working, this would come before you. There's a little piece of right of way next to the bus depot, bus maintenance shop over there. And it was an old access to 285, or maybe road went across there. But for us to horse trade those for right of way on their property for that trail there on Flowers. So continue that
There's
on
an old
up.
road that went across.
Yeah, it was like an old road bed. You can see it there.
They used to be an exit ramp off.
That's what they said, it was the
285
old exit
to Philly
ramp.
Mill,
Yeah.
and
Which,
then they closed it. So they left the right of way there where the exit ramp was.
yeah, and the city's name. So, which is nice. So this way they'll give us right away behind those trees, and we'll be able to leave that bank of trees through there. So we'll make it a nice trail. Otherwise, we're going to have to take all those trees out. So both those are good, and the school district's working with us. So it's nice to have another agency working with us. Comp plan that you approved last month, the kickoff says Friday. Just kind of a meet and greet, learn the town a little bit, some discussions with staff, and then drive around town some. New Peachtree Road diet that's going out over the bridge. You never get this. The engineers came back with a revised estimate of the cost to do the engineering of $200,000 less. Never happens. That was a shock. So that's good. And as you saw, the sidewalk project's moving along over on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. So that contractor is doing a good job. Should wrap up before too long. We've got one issue with Georgia Power. One of their poles they need to get out of the way. And it's the typical situation. We deal with them all over. They got their stuff out of the way. This is the communications folks that won't get the stuff off the old pole. So it's sitting there. Traffic improvement project, y'all approved that. That should be the last kind of big project over there in the Tank Farm SSD, as we call it. So we'll have some improvements in there. And like I say, I think all the businesses in there are pretty happy. Usually, if they're not complaining, that means they're happy. Waiting on final approval from the Army Corps for our stream bank project over next to the community gardens. Pin Oak Circle Stormwater, waiting on DeKalb. They need to do something with their water line there. Otherwise, the road would be open. So just waiting on DeKalb. Park Avenue, that's that LMIG grant. Keck and Wood is working with our other engineers, keep that separate, and that way the LMIG money's clean and we can get that $800,000. Pavement assessments underway. If you recall, we needed to do that after the annexation, so it pulls all of our roads in, and we'll get a fresh look and be able to prioritize on paving. So library folks were here tonight. They're open. I haven't had a whole lot of complaints from them, so that's good. They're waiting on DeKalb. If you know the collections DeKalb's, so it's supposed to run through there. Servers and whatever. They still haven't got us hooked up to internet over there, but they're using a Wi-Fi hotspot thing. So it's working. Kaufman's hired a marketing team for City Center. So Emily's begun coordinating with them. We got welcoming week. It kicks off Friday. We got our event Saturday. Newsletter. Got a redesign that's coming out in October. So that's good. The restrooms, we should have everything covered with cameras. Pitched a little bit of a fit with them, with Flock. And they're in the interim, they're going to put up some solar powered ones that'll give us good coverage because as we've talked, I want good video in there once with the restrooms open. But they're usually on it. They've not done great on this one. And then the one sad news, we worked that wreck on Peachtree Boulevard with Dunwoody. So we were there first, worked with it, and actually we detained the suspect. So, but anyway, that rattled some folks. No one likes to deal with a young child. So it was bad. It's a bad scene. So that's what I got.
You want to share your news with the public too?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, and then I guess I still got one more to go, but I won't have the little
We don't
thing.
have this.
I won't have this forum. Yeah, so I have taken a job offer with Bullitt County, which is Statesboro. So it was a unique opportunity. It's one you just never know. They reached out to me, worked me a little bit, drug me down there. I'd actually never been to Statesboro. So it's fun. It's college town. It's closer to my kids. So it's just opportunities only come around. Like I explained to somebody one time. You never know when you can't just always pick and choose. But it did feel good that y'all approved the building, and we have a very sound budget for the city center project. We have the financing lined up. I don't feel like I'm leaving you in the lurch. So, and it's been fun. Got a lot done. I wouldn't, when I first got here, I wouldn't have thought I'd been here over 5 years, but, had good councils and councils that wanted to make things happen. So that's what makes the job fun.
Thanks. Well, I think I'll just say that we made a really good hire when we chose you, 5 years ago. So amazingly, we really did have a vision. The city needed to be kind of built back up because we didn't have a lot of key people in staff positions. A lot of things were just not getting done. I think you were somebody who could come in and really kind of rebuild those basic steps that the city needed. But we also had a vision for where we wanted to be, and you've been not just working on all those standard operational things, but it really helped us achieve our vision. So I'll say that I personally appreciate all the work that you've done in your capacity for Doraville. Our city is better off because you were here. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
really wish you the best in Bullitt County as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kuntz, do you have anything?
I want to echo what the mayor said. When you came there was a lot of problems, and there was just a lot of problematic processes and processes that didn't even exist that you came in and recognized and got straightened out. And I mean, what impressed me when the interview process was you recognized what horrible shape Honeysuckle Park was in without even asking. And now it's like the jewel of the city that it should be, and it's getting better. We got a park plan where, looks like we're probably gonna have the swimming pool over there, and it's gonna, be a point of pride for the city instead of an eyesore that it had turned into. And there's just things all over the city like that. And I know as a council person, when we talk about this downtown redevelopment, we were told, or I was told, that there's no way it's possible. There's no way to get the funding together. There's just forget about that. And then there were these old plans that were done several councils ago where they were putting buildings on property the city didn't even own, and just, a lot of wasted time and talk about stuff that just wasn't even going to be possible. And now we've got redirection. We partnered with Gary Sobel, and I agree with what you were saying that, if you do need to leave, you're leaving at a good time, that you got kind of the ducks in a row. The downtown is going to be sort of on autopilot for a little bit here until the council can find a new city manager. So I feel comfortable that, we're going to be okay. And the only question I have is the bathroom in English Oak Park. What's the story on it? It was one of the first ones to be approved, and then
It was through that separate grant. Yeah. So I mean, we've already awarded the contract.
okay, we were just over there eating lunch the other day, and I was like,
Like, it'd be nice to
I
have.
thought we were gonna have a bathroom over here, and I need to use the bathroom.
Yes.
It's like we had to leave and go back to my house and couldn't enjoy my lunch, and it would have been nice. So anyway, that's it again, and thanks again for your service.
Yep. And I should add, we had it yesterday, the DDA, Justin that runs the studios was
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna ask you about that.
And just because we've been dealing with it. It hadn't been before you guys, but everything does appear to be on go for the connection from Motors up to New Peachtree. We had the good meeting with GDOT. They're fully contracted. They've paid Keck and Wood. They've released them to pay the engineering for the retaining walls that it's going to take to navigate getting up there. But all that's moving forward. So that's exciting. And it's actually a good service it's for them because they've got plenty of folks that would love to take MARTA and be able to walk through there and feel safe.
Brevins?
Thanks for the report and the marketing for the city center, that team. Can you talk more about what that entails?
Yeah, I don't know what they're paying or anything. Kaufman's paying them. So it's helped, because you have the agreement with Kaufman. I mean, they get paid if they bring people in. So, that's in their own entrance to drum up interest in these sites because they get a brokerage fee. So, yeah, just telling everybody what a cool plan we got and getting the word out. And, we'll work with them. It's great to have the help. But that's the idea behind it. So it's for them. They're paying the bill, not us.
Gotcha. And the murals that we discussed for that area that you
Yep.
on assembly.
I think they'll start next month or two.
Okay.
So yeah, that's moving along too. That's one of the more exciting projects I got to do, just because it's going to say Doraville all over it and next to Assembly Atlanta. So yes, it's good.
Well, Chris, thank you for your years of service. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations and all the success in your future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henshaw?
I'm not going to be nearly as magnanimous. Get out. Oh, see what happens. No, thank you for hurting the cats that are up here. Although I think we have a pretty unified vision. It's never easy to deal with 7 different personalities. So apologize for any role and stress that I made your hair grayer over the past 5 years. You've added to some of this though, so it's fine. You mentioned Brook Park bathrooms for the cameras, but are they open yet? They're not open yet, are they?
I'd say we weren't until we had the cameras.
Okay,
go.
so we're just waiting on cameras.
Yes.
But
Because
you
they give us, I don't know how much you want it, but so you look at them and then they give you this field of view and all this stuff. But then I was like, no, I want the chief to be able to look through the cameras and see what he wants to see. Because, they'll show you field of view, but it's just a cone. So it doesn't show if there's a limb hanging across or whatever. So I wanted them dialed in because we've said we're going to have them dialed in.
Yeah.
But their rep said, yes, here, we'll do this. They didn't coordinate as close as they should have with Georgia Power. So some of the poles have power to them, but it's too much power. So you got to step the power down and all this other just mess. So he said, look, in the interim, we'll put up solar powered cameras. They're real time. The only thing is they're not tilt pan zoom, but as long as they cover it, they cover it. So that's what we had at our meeting last week, and we're working.
What was the
through.
time frame on that? Do you know?
I mean, he said like this week, but who knows?
Well, of course, that means
What's he saying now?
September.
Right now.
Okay, so theoretically, they should be open shortly.
I pitched a fit.
Theoretically.
Before you leave.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's some fairly large events
Because
coming
it's
up.
so irritating. I mean, really, they should have, and the bathrooms should have been finished 3 months ago. We ran into delays with them. So, I mean, they are really behind. And I think they've grown too fast, but that's
Oh,
just
block?
yeah.
very-
So I think we got kind of lost in the shuffle. Now we got a new project manager. And so anyway, but I was on the call and he seemed to actually have escalated us up.
Okay, that's good.
The
Yeah, 'cause there's a couple
complaint
big events coming up in the fall. Their park's popular.
It would be
Make sure
very
they're
nice to have
available.
them and
rather than
nobody
having
wants to
porta
see
potty.
a brand new bathroom and want to know why it's locked. Yeah,
Yeah, well, and having a porta potty next to a brand new bathroom just doesn't send the right message.
not
you know?
good.
And I did want to say, while we don't have full on estimates, I know that I think our current estimate for the City Hall building itself is about 17 million, about approximately $500 a square foot. And
You will see. That's
that's
I've heard
approximate.
rumblings. I have not seen anything on paper.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to see.
But this is not to bash Brookhaven, but they spent over $80 million just on their building. And so for us to build a building that has a library for less than 1/4 of that,
And a true city center with a park in the middle and everything else. I mean, that's the full.
well, we're not
Yeah,
getting
that's
that just for 17 million. We got to add a few
Yeah,
more
but I
zeros.
mean, our full project budget will have the full
half
thing
of-
plus regional stormwater.
Yeah, for half of what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, and on a personal note, I just want to thank you just for building a team here and then adding depth to it. I know they're two very different things, and it stinks that you're leaving when you're leaving, because I know you probably want to see the city center come to fruition as well. But you left us with some depth, which is not easy to do in our city of this size. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Ray.
Yeah, thank you. Exciting news about the sidewalks and paths and funding for all of that engineering. Only question was with the solar powered cameras, are those going to have battery reserves or anything like that? Or is it just only going to operate during the day?
You're the solar guy. I think that, no, they have a battery. Yeah, it's a battery because it's all night too. Yeah, it's
Okay, that's what
yeah.
I was curious about.
And he
because
said
some
he
are
even
just-
had the AI capabilities because I asked him about that because that was the big selling point to us for doing this was it had the capability to send alerts if there was people in the park at 3 a.m., stuff like that, because we can't pay somebody to just sit there and look at a screen the whole time. But he said, yes, these do have that capability in the interim before they get the other fixed. But yeah, that was this big selling point to me. It's just kind of force multiplier to be able to have those alerts come to you.
Yeah, and that's what I was curious about. So that's great. Well, I'll echo everyone else. I've only got to work with you for, what are we at, 8 months now, but it's been awesome. I appreciate your guidance and experience. And I think you said you'll be able to bike to work from where you're going. So I think that alone is a great reason for taking a job. So congrats.
Yeah, there's some quality of life. Yeah, it will be. I get an hour and a half of my life back. So yes, every day.
Councilmember Armstead.
Plus the front porch, right? That front porch alone sounded like it was totally worth it.
And a detached man cave. Yes, yes.
Well, like we all said, we all appreciate what you've done for us. We've definitely benefited from your expertise, your sense of humor. I will light my chicken candle in your honor next week.
That was the best one. I had to make sure. Y'all all knew I did that, right? That was a good one. But then I was like, oh no, she's gonna think somebody's stalking her. It's good.
I did have one question. Do we have a camera on the tennis court?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was part of yeah, we can even show it to you, but yes, it did. And we were moving things around, but it comes back to that whole field of vision because we had I think it was 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 cameras just in Brook Park, but we were looking at where the field of view was and what made the most sense because one was one place and we're moving it over towards facing right down at the restrooms. So yeah, but we can see across there.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, China. Can't see you, but now you're there.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today I bring before you the 2026 fiscal year budget. First of all, I just want to thank the Budget Committee, staff, department heads, city manager for helping me collaborate to put this budget together. The budget is balanced and the budget is on our city website on the finance page in the entirety. Tonight, this will just be an overview and it is a public hearing. So let's get started. Okay, so at first I want to kind of just look at our fund structure. This year, our fund structure is a little bit different than it has been in the past. Normally, our largest fund is the general fund, but this year our capital project fund is, and that is because of our city center and our large amount of grants that we have financed this year. Our third largest fund is always the proprietary fund, which consists of solid waste and stormwater. Okay, so now I just kind of want to look at all our funds from 2025 to 2026. 2026, I kind of see as our transition year. You see a lot of new funds added due to the bonds as well as funds for building of the city center. You have a public arts fund. And if you see the percent changes, they're kind of wonky because of the drastic changes that we're doing with the city center. with that funding being in this year. The overall budget is about 70 million, and last year it was about 53, which is kind of 15.7 million increase. Now it's kind of just like look over some highlights, some major highlights that's the budget consists of. It was created on 9 mills. And this is the first budget to include the annex area, which about 578 parcels, as well as a 3% merit increase average for employees. It also includes the creation of a communications department, which includes a coordinator as well as a new communications digital specialist. It will also have some very cool things with communication, such as text services, more money put in for flyers and mailers. We also have 3 new employees included as well, 2 for code enforcement and 1 for maintenance and repair. This year, we have $5 million in grant revenue included in our budget, which is the largest I've seen since I've been here. A lot of that is contributed from GDOT and USDOT with a lot of connectivity projects that we have going on. It also is included of the People's Building, rental expense for the temporary city center, and it also has funding for solar lights and traffic calming measures. We do have a few increases to fees. One is for the event application. Right now, it's been $25 for the last 10 years, and it touches many departments, and we have increased that to $100. The administration fee for business licenses is $50. We want to increase it to $75. Around us, it's $150. They call it a flat fee of $50 and that's $75 administration fee. But either way, you're going to have to pay a flat $150 no matter what your revenue is. And then we also have included updated court fees, which have not been updated since 2013. Our clerk of court, along with the chief judge and solicitor, have sat down and looked at the comparable properties around us and made the adjustments. So now the next slide, couple of slides, we'll just kind of talk about our capital projects that we have going on. The first project is the police vehicles. Every year we replace vehicles over 100,000 miles that's being placed out of SPLOS. The next 3 are 100% grant match from the state for police, the cameras, as well as the software that will connect them to our surrounding law enforcement agencies. And then, excuse me, as well as laptops that are going to be out of service due to Microsoft will no longer support it as of October 14th. That's also 100% grant match. The next one is code enforcement vehicles with the 2 for the new code enforcement officers. And then we have 2 vehicles that are over 10 years old as well. And we put a lot of money in repairs, and it's just not cost effective to keep repairing those 2 vehicles. We also have a shared vehicle between parks and planning and zoning. Their car right now is an old police car and it has no air conditioning. We have the rewrite of the tree ordinance, which will actually be paid out of the tree fund. And then the comprehensive plan that was brought before you a couple of months ago, it will be paid out of 3 funding sources: SPLOS, stormwater, and our local capital fund. These next projects are all grants with the 20% match. The 20% match will come out of SPLOS. The other 80% are grants, and they're all connectivity projects, which you've already seen before from GDOT and USDOT. They range from right-of-way improvements to aligning roads.
Can we highlight that road that we're talking about realigning?
Highlight it?
Yeah, the 145,000 realigning Chestnut Drive with Central Avenue at Buford Highway.
Yes, that is a grant.
That we're working on that.
Yes, we are currently working on that. And then we have capital projects, 1.3 million, 500,000 of that is a grant from 319. Capital paving, $130,000 of that 1.2 is from LBIG. It'll just be going off of the master plan that currently exists. And then the 8-yard rear loader. It has nothing to do with asphalt. I accidentally put that on there. It's actually for solid waste to pick up on the routes now that we have trash within our capabilities. And then the English Oak Park that Chris just talked about is also included. That is 100% grant for the bathrooms and the trails. And then key card access to Public Works building. That is the only building in the city that does not have key card access for employees. And the one that I didn't put on there is the biggest one, is the development of the city center. So this was just kind of an overview. All the other operating expenses are pretty much status quo. Most of our large expenses is because of capital, as I explained before, the city center, and a lot of our grants. And I can take any questions.
All right. Well, this is a public hearing, so we'll open it to the public. But first, do you mind, just so everyone knows, like listing off who was on the budget committee this year?
The budget committee was Commissioner Warren Simmons, Commissioner Carrie Armistead, and Commissioner Christopher Henshaw.
All right. Well, thank you, council members, for your service. I guess feel free to sit down, and we will open up the public hearing, starting with anyone wishing to speak in favor of this budget. You can have up to a total of 10 minutes to speak. And we can open up Zoom also. I'm not seeing anyone. Doesn't look like it. So we will close that and open it up to anyone wishing to speak against this budget. You can come up to the podium and have up to 10 minutes to speak. I think someone's getting up, so. And just state your name and where you live.
I'm getting used to walking around without a wheelchair. Sorry. There's a couple things. You talked about a road alignment. On Central Avenue, we paid Kecken Woods $80,000 for a drawing. We ended up with telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk. Both ends of that street have 65-foot right-of-ways. Yet you've got a car lot on the corner at the other end, got cars parked all over the public right-of-way. That's not their car lot. Okay, that's public right-of-way. That street should be wide there for turning, et cetera. Same way with the other end. That alignment that drawing has already been done with GDOT. And here we're going to pay, what, Kecken Woods some more money? I would hire Kecken Woods to design one of the bathrooms you're putting in the park, okay? And the money spent to put this bathroom in Brook Park right in the middle of the stream bed. I'd like to know whose idea was that, and then have to dig a trench around it to take care of the water issues. It seems like the city council, when they throw this money around, you're just handing it out to the same problem makers that you had for the last 2 decades. And it's like garbage in, garbage out, hiring the same contract firms, same engineering firms, and over again, they prove it to you. Like, for instance, the drawings just for Central Avenue was $650,000. The actual project was $52,000. That drawing is already done in GDOT in DeKalb County. Go pick them up. So this city is just shoveling that cash out. You raise the taxes on every apartment around here by these bond issues. You raise their rent. You raise the price of gasoline with the transporters, $5 million. You just shovel the cash out and you're not producing the results. You ought to be getting $2 worth of quality back for every dollar spent. This city, you spend $100,000 to get something that's built backwards. I mean, I really, this whole budget needs to be going through. I've been looking at the credit card statements through open records requests. We're just having a wonderful time with these credit cards. Every department head. Why are we not using the maintenance department to take care of all the vehicles in the city? Steph should know better, you know? You're going out to the people charging you a flat rate and retail for all the parts. I mean, it's insane. We have a maintenance department should be taking care of vehicles, but we're sending the people with credit cards over to the Goodyear tire store to get $600, okay? I mean, you look through the credit card statements and you drill down in this budget, it's a tragedy. It's mismanaged. And like I said, I have the drawings, but the traffic light, GDOT, you could tell GDOT what to do. You're pulling one light, just move it down one space. It just takes somebody with a little courage, knows how to tell them what the deal is, and go get it done. You know, when I built that entrance on Chestnut, Steph was there when I took the curb out and Ray Jenkins was having a fit. The guy from GDOT says, what are they going to do, make you put it back? You know, get it done. Go down there and get it done. You know, we're sitting here, you can't get out of the biggest neighborhood in the city, doesn't have a traffic light. Now, what kind of sense does that make? You know, Joseph, it doesn't make any sense. And the city manager make an excuse. Good thing he's leaving. Once you get somebody that can actually get the job done. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak against the budget? Anyone on Zoom? Not seeing any hands raised, so we are going to close the public hearing, and I'll just state for the record that probably not going to get much done with GDOT if we try to start doing stuff to their roads. But anyway, pull it back to the council to see if they have any questions or comments. And we'll start with Councilmember Armistead.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Simmons.
Sorry, I missed some of this, but luckily I was on the committee, so no, I read it. It's good. Thank you. No comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bray.
Yeah, thank you. One comment and one question. Thanks for getting the budget in there for the tree ordinance. For anyone listening, we do have an item tonight on that. This is for a larger rewrite, including developers and commercial and things like that. I appreciate getting the merit increase in there for staff. I think that's always great. I know it's probably not keeping up perfectly with inflation, but I'm glad we can do that. Only question is, you mentioned we need to replace a couple vehicles.
Yes.
And I think, let's see here. Where was that? So police vehicles, a little over 500. What vehicles are being replaced there? Do you know?
Any of other 100,000 miles, I think they have a few 2016 Ford Explorers that are going to replace.
All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henshaw.
No questions. Obviously, I was there for a good chunk of the discussions. I'm glad we're getting some new code enforcement that'll help elevate. And I didn't mention it earlier, but Chris, thank you for mentioning that Aspen Commons, is it? Is happy to see the work that we're doing to kind of elevate the formerly unincorporated areas. So I hope that trend continues. Obviously, the paving and stormwater reassessments, as those come through, we'll sort of talk a lot about that. I just want to, I can't remember what the exact number was, but it was $5-6 million worth of grants.
Yes, 5 million.
5 million in grants with some of them were 80% 20% match, and some of them were outright 100% grants, right? So to get, we'll say $500,000 worth of city money for $5 million coming in grants that's a huge lift for a city as small as ours to get money like that. So I don't know what's under the current administration, what that's going to be coming up next year, but I hope that our whoever it was that was involved in getting those grants done, other than Eldridge, who's not going to be here, thank you for your heavy lift on that. That really helps our city. It elevates everything. And, there's no such thing as free money, but every one of those dollars is just multiplied, 5-10-fold. That's huge. That really helps cities like ours. So I'm very happy with the way things are moving, and thank you for putting the budget together.
Thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Just one question / concern is about is there confirmation that, speaking of GDOT, the toll lane is not going by Public Works and that Public Works will be moving? I just want to make sure we're not doing updates to the building if it's not going to be there. Perfect. And then the line item, which is not here, just want to confirm, I guess this will be on next year's budget for the charitable donations, 501(c)(3).
No, that is included already in the operating budget. I just didn't highlight it.
Oh, okay.
It's $10,000 in city council for payments to others, donations, however you see fit.
Perfect. And nope, that's it. Glad to see the increase for code enforcement officers too, so that's budgeted for. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kuntz.
No, I'm glad to see we're finally putting a little money aside for public art. That's a new thing. We've talked about that in the past, and it was actually in the budget. And I'm really glad that we're getting this communication, we're taking the communication seriously. In the past, we've tried to save some money by, I know previous councils had cut out a printed newsletter and had gone to, kind of restricting the communications budget, trying to save money. And that's where we get most of our complaints, I feel like, is from residents don't understand what's going on. And I've been around a while watching what's going on with this intersection. Keeps coming up tonight, talking about Chestnut Road and Central Avenue. If any of the residents want to pull up a Google map, you can see very obviously this intersection doesn't align. And they're not going to let you put a traffic light at an intersection that isn't aligned. And we had a resident come up saying how they personally had done a bunch of work at that intersection. And when they were on the city council, why would you have done a bunch of work on that intersection and not aligned it so you could actually put in the traffic light? And GDOT is also saying that you can't just put a traffic light there because they've changed their regulations on distances between traffic lights. And there's one at Just Norman, and there's one at Motors Industrial, and they were saying that Park Avenue was as close as they would let a traffic light be moved. So if we were going to put or move a traffic light down to Chestnut, they would have to remove the one at Just Norman by their new regulations. And we're trying to, work with them on that. But until that road gets aligned, there's no way that you can align it. And also was brought up something about sidewalks with telephone poles in the middle of it. That was done. Nobody up here on the dais was in office when any of that stuff was done. So we're talking about trying to blame this council for stuff that was done decades ago.
Say you and I are probably the only people up here who lived in Doraville at that time.
Yeah, we are. Me and you were the only people that lived in Doraville at the time. And so, trying to blame this group on stuff that was done multiple administrations ago was, just playing politics, somebody running for office. So anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Well, China, thank you. I guess we're going to see you again a couple of times, right?
Yes.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Next up, City of Doraville 2026 renewal summary.
Before Jacqueline comes forward, she's going to present the renewal, and we also have a representative from Kaiser here. If you have any specific questions tonight, we're looking for you to approve what is being presented so we can start off with open enrollment.
Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Jacqueline Melton with One Digital. I have an executive summary for you, and then for the rest of the details, I am going to start high, and I'm happy to indulge your appetite for more information as we go along. As China mentioned, I'm also here with John Slack with Kaiser. I'm going to call him up. There's a particular thing one of the things we're wanting you to debate between. So I want to make sure that you're clear on understanding the differences between those two options before we get into the rest of the information. So I'll start with our executive summary. I do have some data analytics in the presentation. If you like the way the slides look, I'll walk you through them. If not, I'll skip them. I do have printed copies for you all if you would like to look at them later on. Happy to come back and tell you about that. We also did, since we've been talking about budgeting, some contribution modeling. So for the two options of plan benefits for next year, assuming that the contribution model that is in place now carries over, we've modeled what it will cost employees for those changes to be put in play. And then I have what we call the renewal exhibit, which is just a little bit more budget detail for each of the lines of coverage that you have in play. So lots of information. You guys tell me, stop here and give me more on that. So I'll start with our executive summary. Your benefits year renews on January 1st. One Digital became your broker of record as of July 1. So we are new to this relationship, but really excited to help you guys make sure that you are offering an amazing competitive benefit package to your employees. At a high level, this year, we are recommending that you stay with Kaiser for medical. and remain with all of your other current lines of coverage for the 2026 year. Because One Digital came into play late in the year in terms of how we do the shopping for your lines of coverage, we recommended that we not make any major changes this year, allowing us to have a better opportunity to analyze the data, take a poll and an assessment of what changes need to be made, and then focus on implementing any major changes going to market next year. For the Kaiser summary, we started off with a 10% renewal offer, which was negotiated down to a 6%, keeping all things in your current plan the same. On the plate for this year is also a recommendation to add a morbid obesity rider with GLP-1 coverage to the plan, which is not in place. So I'll talk a little bit more about those. But if we add the morbid obesity rider, it would be a 6.8% increase versus the 6% flat increase if we keep all things the same. Our initial projection for your renewal, One Digital's projection, was 9.6%. So we were pretty much in line with what Kaiser came out of the box with initially. Right now, there are 100 employees on your plan and 213 total members. And I'll give a little more detail on the next slide, but as a overall summary, your budget for your healthcare is running at about 70% to budget. So that's good. Anything under 80% generally is favorable. So we like to see plans that are running low, not anticipating major impacts on what your renewal is going to be. Also keeping in mind that the price of healthcare continues to go up. So I kind of think of it as a COLA, cost of living increase for healthcare. It's very rare we see flat increases and flat renewals this year just because drugs are more expensive and what it costs to treat people is more expensive. But overall, you're running really well in terms of your plans. That means your employees and the members are healthy. I want to acknowledge 2 weeks ago, I was at Atlanta's Healthiest Employer Awards banquet. Doraville, I think, came into 4th place in the small employer category. That's amazing. So kudos to y'all. That's reflective of healthy employees. We're working to get you guys on the stage next year to be in the top 3, but that's, well, we're going to go there. I have some ideas about wellness and health, but we'll talk about that. So just acknowledging the health and the commitment of council and its employees to create an environment where people are physically well, mentally well, emotionally and spiritually well, shows up in statistics like this. There are 0 high-cost claimants on your plan right now. So again, you don't have anybody that has any catastrophic illnesses that are running up your plan cost. And there were no plan changes required this year. For your other lines of coverage, most everything came in at either you were in a rate guarantee or you got a flat renewal. The only other line of coverage that was open for renewal this year was your dental. They initially came in at a 7% recommended increase. We were able to negotiate that down to 4.5. Any high-level questions here before I get into the meat and details?
You have a question?
Within your upcoming meet and details, will you talk more about the obesity rider?
Yes.
And I'll hold my questions until then.
So these are the data slides. This is the sort of big takeaway. What you're seeing here is the June data. We do this data analytics month by month. So for the month of June, you were running a little high, but overall to your plan from July last year to June of this year, you're running at about 70%. We're showing the average number of employees on the plan per month. On the bottom, you're seeing over time. So for the past several quarters and months, you're seeing the fluctuations in your plan when you've been running high. You see a couple of months ago, back in December of, 23, it looked like there were a lot of high cost claims and you've come down. That black line is your budget. So you can see whether or not month by month you're trending at above or below what your budget. We're also highlighting what your average per employee per month premium is for the month of June versus the overall past 12 months. The next couple of slides are a lot more detail, so flag it if it looks like something you really want to have me talk through, but I did want to share the information for anybody that was interested in understanding a bit more. This is just a summary of your total medical and pharmacy. The quick takeaway here is that the orange box is the percent of the budget of your claims that's spent on pharmacy. The blue box is how much of your spend is spent on actual medical care. You guys are on average, more and more we are seeing employers spend more on pharmacy because how we treat people with drugs continues to be more prevalent and go up in cost. So I would anticipate over the next couple of years, if you stay with trend, you'll see that orange box start to take up more and more part of the budget. What we're also showing here is the past 12 months going back a couple of years, so you can compare your rolling 12 on amount of claims, your claims, PEPM and the average, and then your average quarterly claim. So it's just another way to look at how your money is being spent. And I call this the China slide. This is your very detailed month by month budgetary detail around how many members, how many employees, what you're spending on your gross medical claims, your gross RX claims, how much of that is premium, and how that all summarizes so you can see month by month. So this is information that I share with China on a monthly basis so that we can keep each other honest. And this is about the actual claims. Lastly, we have your enrollment details. So it just shows how your plan has fluctuated as you hire people and members come onto and fall off of the plan. And this is budget detail of how we came to your actual renewal projection. The renewals are based upon how the previous years are weighted in the fluctuation of claims from year to year. Any questions about the budget detail? I know that was a lot, but I wanted you all to
go
have.
ahead and go through the presentation, then we'll see what questions folks have.
Okay. What we have here is your contribution modeling. So in the red box is what your employees pay right now on the 2025 side. On the other side is what they would pay in 2026 if you renewed your plan as is with a 6% increase. So just so you know, that's what it's going to cost your employees. What I would like to call John up and explain a little bit more about is this would be your scenario for your employee cost if you added the morbid obesity rider with GLP coverage. So I'm going to have John just voice over a little bit what that morbid obesity rider would cover, who would qualify, and why it might be something you want to consider on your plan.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. John Slack from Kaiser Permanente. So I'm sure we've all seen on TV the ads for all these specialty drugs. At Kaiser, we take a targeted approach. Each person is different. And so we do that to manage costs over time. Morbid obesity is for folks who have diabetes and overweight. And so working with their physician, they design a plan, and that could include their diet. There's also psychological part of that as well. And so it all depends on what that person needs at that time. These drugs are expensive. The co-pays would be about 20% of the reasonable and customary charge for those drugs. So we do that to manage costs as well. As Jacqueline explained, your renewal will increase by less than a percentage point if you add that rider onto the coverage. So I'll pause and see if there's any questions.
Councilmember Henshaw?
You mentioned a 20% increase or a 20% copay, but what would the average monthly cost be? And then what would the copay be for that? So $500 a month, $1,000 a month?
It could range. Some of these drugs, $500 a month or more. You have a copay structure for your RX, and that will fall into specialty copay, which would be a 20% copay.
Okay. So if it was $500 a month,
Yeah.
Okay. A fairly small copay for.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is.
Reasonable. Okay. Thank you.
Or Simmons?
So sorry. Thank you. So this obesity rider, when I'm here, it's for the Kaiser plans. Is it all of them? HMO, PPO?
It covers the entire.
Covers all of
yeah,
them in-
all the plans, the PPO as well as the HMO plan.
And what's the increase for it?
So yeah, the increase to add the rider is 0.8. So it's less than a percentage point.
Okay, and you said those numbers were included in these red box in 2026?
So on the previous slide, these are the numbers right now without the rider. So you see the 2025 monthly contributions, and we've modeled out what they would be in 2026.
Okay. Okay, so that's the increased cost for each plan right
Correct.
there
Mhm.
with the
As
rider.
is.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is what it will look like with the rider on the next slide.
Yeah.
So for an individual, it's really not a whole lot of, it's not a market increase that they would really, really notice from month to month if you added the rider. But for anybody that was eligible and met the criteria, they would then have access to this benefit that they don't currently have.
No, this is what I wanted to see. Okay. Thank you. That answers it. Thank you.
Any other questions on this side about the more obesity rider?
Do we have any data on how many people have asked for it or would have qualified for it?
So we don't have, we could run a report to show how many people would fall in that category as far as obesity, and could share that information as well. Yeah. Mhm.
Let me see if there's anyone.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyone, Councilmember Evans?
I'll piggyback on that. I was going to ask what classifies morbid obesity,
It's your body.
like over a certain percentage?
Yeah, certain percentage of your body fat.
Okay.
That's specified. And so there are strict reporting around that as to how you'd fall in that category. So I don't have that information here as to
fine.
what that would be, but yeah,
But there would be some type of protocol to see if you classify it needed to.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a decision made by the physician.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilmember Koontz?
No, and I guess I'm looking at, I think I'm reading this chart right, that, for a single employee, it doesn't look like it would have any impact. But if you're like a employee with a family insured, it's about $30 a month, or that's about 15% increase in cost for the employee.
So the differentiation in what the monthly cost is built out based upon what was predetermined. So for the employee-only plan, it appears that there was a targeted strategy to make the plan for employees only the most affordable option. So that's
Right.
what you see reflected
right.
in the, and so what the cost ratio is for all of the other ones varies. And so you're gonna see the cost increase is gonna vary based upon the level of plan you choose.
Right.
Whether or not you added the rider or not.
Mhm.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it looking at this, that because we do have a lot of employees with families insured on the city's plan. And if you're an employee with a family, if we add the rider, it's going to add about,
We'd have to compare it to 2 slides before though, right? So
Just, yeah, you'd compare it to that.
it's actually the next one,
So-
just
so-
essential.
you answer the question for me. If you're an employee with a family and we add the rider, what's that additional cost going to be, burden going to be on like an employee that's not overweight that just happens to,
Yeah.
if we make that decision?
I mean, I would say the logic is if you add any enhancement to the plan, it's going to affect some people are going to be able to benefit
Well,
from it.
That's what she's at.
That's not,
And
my
others-
question is, how much a month is it going to increase for an employee with a family if we add the rider?
So with an employee for a family, if you're looking at, depending on which plan they have, but if they're having the, can't even read my own slide, the HMO plan with the non-tobacco, they would go from paying 200 and let me see, 44, let's see,
148, 35, 158, 45.
yep, who just said it?
You're on
Yeah.
the wrong slide. You're on the dental slide.
$10
That's why.
high.
If you go up a few, keep going. Yeah.
So that's the current.
That's medical, right?
Yeah.
Right, MOB rider.
So that's without the rider.
No, it says with the rider on it.
Yeah, there, that one. That's the slide right there.
Yep, that's what it
It's
is.
$10.
Yeah.
Per pay period, so $20 a month.
It's $10.
Yeah, it's per pay period.
Yep,
Oh, yeah,
depending on which one, but yeah, with the
Yeah.
family.
20 a month.
So that's it's basically a 10% increase. Because if they're paying 200 and something and you're boosting it $20, that's close to a 10% increase for them. I guess my question to Kaiser would be, if we have an obese, patient that comes in and they don't have this rider, you don't treat them for that, or how does that work?
Yeah, if the rider is not there, then the GLP-1 drugs are not covered. And so because the GLP-1s is used to treat obesity and diabetes.
And there's no other treatment.
Well, there's exercise, there is diet, there are different things you can do without having the drugs.
And that,
Yeah, right.
For the whole cost of the drug, as
Mhm.
opposed to only having to pay 20% of the cost of the drug.
Mhm.
If
Okay.
that was the treatment option they were interested in.
I mean, I know we're not making this decision tonight, right?
It doesn't have to be tonight. We do need final decisions on all of this no later than next Friday.
I think that they're asking for a decision tonight. Like, I think that's what China is asking for.
To have one tonight.
So I guess my other question is, this 0.8%, what's the total cost to the city? Like, because I know the employees don't pay the whole thing is subsidized.
Yep, so I'm trying to do the math. Give me 1 second. So for the cost of the city, if you look at the bottom of so if you're looking at the bottom of this slide, there's a whole number here. So you've got your
I can't see that. We can't see that screen.
You've got your whole premium, so it's $1,631,777. That's what.
Bottom right,
Yeah.
Steffi. Bottom right, Steffi.
I mean, I'm sorry, the screen in front of us is like this big.
But it's like I'm looking at it and I'm happy to pass these out. It doesn't help a lot.
Right. No, it's when we have 15 different things on the same little small screen, it's hard to read any of these numbers.
You read that?
Right, but which one? So we're looking at a $200,000.
Let's see. I'm on the right one. Yeah.
Like, where's the total?
No. That's old last year. I think that's what. No.
So the increase to the city with no rider, you're adding $92,349 to your budget. With the rider, we're adding $104,868.
$12,000.
12 grand. And what's the total cost?
So with the rider, $104,000. Out the rider, 92.
That's the increase. Right. So what's the total bill? Because I'm just trying to figure out, like, 12 grand of what? Like, what are we paying?
1.6 million?
Okay.
That's
Okay. So we're just talking about a $12,000 difference on $1.6 million. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's
Right.
I just no, I mean, it helps me to understand, like, when you're talking $12,000 out of a $1.6 million, that doesn't sound as much as when you're saying it's a 10% increase when you go from one plan to the other. Because it's what it sounds like you were saying it's going to cost the employee.
It's gonna cost the employee a different amount depending on which plan they choose and which tier they choose. So some is gonna feel it a little bit more if they're buying it for their whole family versus if they're just buying it for themselves. But the whole cost to the city is about $12,000.
Okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Simmons, you had something?
So my question was on this rider and all. Obviously, it's going to help health wise and help put our numbers better because it's going to bring morbid obesity down. Do you guys take that into account when you look at the increase and all? Because now we're going to have healthier people using this drug and it'll help in the long run. So when we come next year to look at numbers, our line's going to be even better. Does that taken into account where it's like a little negotiation, obviously?
That is always something we take into consideration. One of the things that we do well at Kaiser Permanente is wellness. And so we want to make sure that folks are adhering to medication, that they're doing the things that they need to do to stay healthy. So we always take that into consideration when we're looking at overall how the population is performing versus where they should be.
Yeah, because I mean, it helps with like not obesity, like heart and like all your vitals, and you go to your doctor. It's crazy. Like
Yeah,
stuff
absolutely.
they do. So
Throughout the
Mhm.
year, we'll be tracking
that
eligible population versus participation.
Mhm.
So we'll be able to see whether or not the people who are really eligible are actually taking advantage of the opportunity. And if they're not, we'll know that we need to do more communications, we need to do more outreach, we need to do more education so that employees know that this new program and resource exists and encourage participation so that it can have the overall benefit.
Yeah, because we have reporting that shows the percentage of the population who are obese or
Yeah.
who, could use those benefits. So we have that reporting available.
that's good, and you check it maybe every 6 months to help bring down some
Yeah.
to help reduce some rates on our end if we start doing well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Henshaw?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone up here knows, but I took tirzepatide last year and I lost 45 pounds on it. It was great, and I paid out of pocket. I'm not on the city's health plan. I was just something I did for myself, and it was fantastic. And I'm a big believer in it. That being said, I know GLP-1 is one of the drugs, tirzepatide or Mounjaro and the Zepbound, and there's a whole bunch of other ones. If the GLP-1, is it just GLP-1? Is it any of the drugs that are available? If GLP-1 doesn't work, they can then move on to another one at the same rate because different people react differently to the different.
Yeah, so it's a plan designed by the physician, and if one drug doesn't work, then there's also the
Okay, so it's not just GLP-1s; it's all
yes.
potentially a variety of different weight loss drugs. Obviously the length of time. Is there any caps to this, or is it just once you're determined to reach your goal, they begin to taper you off per doctor recommended guidelines? It's not like you get 3 months access or you get 10 months access. There's
Not all. There's a treatment plan, and you follow that plan.
Okay.
So that's how it actually works.
okay. I just wasn't, obviously, payments can add up over time.
Right.
I was paying $500 a month, and it adds up over the course of however many months. Can you give us an idea of a percentage of takers in other cities that might have a similar sort of? Obviously, every city is different, but I think you said we have 100 employees on the plan. In another city that has 100 employees, 20 are eligible, 10 are eligible, 3 are eligible.
So I have another municipality in Metro Atlanta. They have about 250 employees. Of that 250, 68 or so were diagnosed with as obese. And then we had another like 70 or so that were diagnosed with diabetes. So you can
Pre-diabetic.
pre-diabetic. So we had an eligible population of about 150 people.
It's almost half.
Yeah. So of that 150, their program was structured where you had to do coaching and lifestyle changing as part of the plan. So you couldn't just take the drugs and do nothing. So we probably in the first year saw maybe around a 25% participation rate at the end of the year. So it started off a little higher and then people fell off because they didn't want to keep up with all of the other program commitments, but about 25%.
Okay. So if we have 25 people, that's a significant savings over.
I mean, I say the other way to look at it is this is cheaper than paying for a heart attack.
Oh yeah. Well,
This is cheaper for paying for someone who has a stroke and now they're not able to come to work. So the longer term implications if morbid obesity, diabetes go untreated are much more significant. I could guarantee that'll be a high cost claimant if you leave it untreated.
yeah. No, obviously I'm familiar with the process, and a lifestyle change is an important factor in it. And I still eat my Nutter Butters up here and everything, but yeah. Okay. So, out of 100, we might get 25 takers potentially, but you said potentially even up to 50% eligible.
move the needle on a couple people because there's also the mental health component.
Huge. Oh, it's
So
massive.
it shows up in many, many other ways of the scale to have someone be able to have the support to have those conditions treated. So you'll see it in a lot of places. So I would say 10% participation in the one would be a great start. And you can promote it with others and it will catch on.
And Kaiser too, if you're diagnosed as pre-diabetes, you are automatically enrolled in a program.
So just for people following along, if 10 people take the drug for 12 months, which is, sometimes that's a typical, so I think I took mine for 8, but at $500 a dose, which was, I think, about the average cost for it, that's about $60,000. And this would look and be at about $12,000 to our plan. And then they'd come out of pocket for 20% of that cost. So, I mean, I think it would be a wash at 10 people, but it would be a wash in the positive direction. Anything more than that, I think we'd be gaining some. Yeah.
Any other questions over here? Councilmember Evans?
So you mentioned another municipality. Is that a prerequisite for this program, that there's some counseling or something can be added?
Oh, yes, the way the program is set up, yes.
Okay.
That's just the part of the program structure.
Gotcha.
We don't want people just at home ordering it unregulated.
Gotcha. And then my question for Kaiser, which is a little bit off topic, are there any expansion plans for more locations? I was recently traveling and didn't have access to any medications because there was no Kaiser around, and I think it was going to take a week to get them, and I was going to be back here by then. So is there a way that you can get any medications you need while you're traveling if you're still within network?
We have a relationship with Walgreens and Rite Aid to get first fill prescriptions if you're traveling. So that's something we can give you some information on, and we'll make sure that the population here is aware of it. We come out and do meetings on a regular basis to make sure that folks understand their coverage and how they can access care when they're traveling outside the service area.
Gotcha. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Don't know how to use the program, so we'll start open enrollment meetings and presentations next month. So we'll just make sure to reinforce that.
I think it'd be important because I did call and they told me it would be a week before they arrived. And I was like, well, I'll be back in Georgia before then. So,
Yeah, that is not good. We can help you with that.
thanks.
Anything else over here? Over here?
I just want to make just a comment for people listening that I caught just then that it's not only morbidly obese people, it's also diabetic. So there are skinny people that are diabetic that will be available for that for anyone listening. I like that.
Right.
Was there more to the presentation or was that? Okay.
Mayor, I just wanted to say, our account executive is watching this as well, and she just texted me and said that 61% of our population is obese.
I'm gonna go with, I think I know what the decision is gonna be, but I'll finish the presentation just to get through it. Everything else is staying the same. So 4%, 4.5% increase on dental. Cigna Vision is the same. These are the slides that you probably don't care about right now. It's the fine detail showing the budget detail for each of those options that I talked about. So for your rider, the non-rider, the 4.5% increase for dental. These are just all more detailed slides for budget. So substantively, my presentation is complete unless there are other questions.
Okay. Well, we can see if there are any other questions. I'll go through the council. Councilmember Henshaw, anything else? Councilmember Armistead? Councilmember Kuntz? Councilmember Ray? Councilmember Evans?
I'm sure. Well, yes, Mayor. I don't know if you answered the question. Were there any expansion plans for Kaiser though?
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer your question. The expansion we're having right now is on the south side in it's Hall County. But in terms of Metro Atlanta in this area, no further information about expansion right now. If you're talking about expansion out of state, as you know, we're in 8 different regions, including the DC area, Maryland, DC, Virginia. So if you travel to any of those areas, you can actually access care at Kaiser Permanente medical office, including California, and those areas. But no expansion to other states as of right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Simmons?
Thank you, Mayor. No questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think someone needs to make a motion to give China the peace of mind to be able to start open enrollment.
I'll make a motion that to approve the Kaiser plan with the morbid obesity rider, which has a 6.8% increase.
Okay. Do you have a second?
A second.
Do I have to say the dental and vision too? As well as all other renewals,
As listed.
as listed in the slide, which is the Cigna Dental and
Okay.
others.
We have a second.
Second.
All right. I've got a couple of seconds. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Ray?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Kuntz?
Yes.
Councilmember Armistead? Councilmember Henshaw?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. All right. Mr. Shelton. If your luck holds up.
I'm not going to count on it. Okay. Not touching. I'll do it. Okay, we'll just carry on. So this is the first read of a text amendment to the tree ordinance, specifically regarding tree permits. So as you guys are now are aware, we're budgeting to do a complete overhaul of the tree ordinance, which is outdated and confusing, and it's sometimes contradictory. But in the meantime, you guys have requested a couple stopgap amendments related to tree permits and what's required when, specifically looking at the number of trees that can be removed without having to follow the full requirements of the tree ordinance. So all the plans and surveys and things like that. Trying to limit or prohibit the removal of otherwise healthy trees, and then requiring more stringent documentation when you are applying for tree permits. So this is just a summary of the changes that I've made. The full tree ordinance, like text amendments, the red line version that I included is 20 pages long. I'm sorry. But the summary of what the changes that I made in here, made a couple of amendments about applicability and exemptions, so that it's now clear that the whole tree ordinance applies regardless of how big your lot is, regardless of if it's a residential lot or not. Now there were instances where it was saying everything has to follow the tree ordinance, and then there were instances saying if your lot's less than 1 acre, you don't. So now it's just applicable across the board. When you justify why you're removing a non-specimen tree, which is a tree that's between 8 inches in diameter, and specimen tree sizes, which is a table list in there listing how big a tree is when it's considered a specimen tree. You cannot remove them if they're healthy or if they're not classified by the arborist as dead, dying, or hazardous. In which case you can still remove them. This does not affect emergency tree removal, which we can talk about that if you want, the distinction between an emergency and a hazardous tree. And then it makes sense in the larger context of the tree ordinance, but there's a couple sections in there for non-development tree permits. And basically what that means is most of the tree ordinance is concerned with if you are developing a property, you're clearing everything away and you're building like townhouses, a new house, an apartment building, assembly, whatever it is. There's a set of things that you need to do in those instances. And then there's non-development, which is I'm removing a tree, but I'm not doing anything else. I'm just removing the tree for whatever reason. So currently in the text, there's two different scenarios. Well, actually, I made handy charts here. So there's two different scenarios in which you can remove the trees without, as like a non-development tree permit. So if you have 10 trees or less, so in this instance, this property has 9 trees, you can remove up to 5 of them, and it'd be considered a non-development permit. So you don't have to get a tree survey. You don't have to do a tree protection plan, all that good stuff. There's also, if you have more than 10 trees, you can remove up to 25% of the canopy. This is an approximation, anyway. You can remove up to 25% of the canopy. Now, you're not required to get a tree survey or anything like that. So how you calculate what your tree canopy is something that might compel you to get a tree survey, but you're not required to. if you can otherwise adequately demonstrate that. So in addition to that, so initially, when this was brought up as a discussion item last month, council had requested or proposed the idea of having a tree survey be required in all instances. After talking to the city arborist and after talking to some of my neighboring city colleagues, we would not recommend that, mostly due to the expense, and then also due to some of the other amendments that we're proposing in here, getting a like full-fledged tree survey for your property if you're only being limited to removing one tree is a bit overkill. But also a lot of it, particularly from the arborist comments, was about the just the headaches of and the education that's involved in trying to explain to people, and then also the pushback that we're almost certainly going to get by requiring a tree survey for what is ultimately a minor job. And then some cleanup things as well in there. That's all I have. We're recommending approval. Let me know if you have any questions. And this is a first read. Just wanted to clarify that. A public hearing is not required because it's not a zoning item, but this is a first read. So
Okay. Councilmember Ray, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thank you, Austin, and thanks for putting all this together pretty quickly. So you drop it down to one tree per calendar year, but that still is limited to whether or not the tree is not healthy, right? You can't just.
the tree would need to be classified as dead, dying, or hazardous.
Okay, just wanted clarity on that. And yeah, I think I'll just say on the whole, I've still got a list of when we brought this up a few months ago of everything we want changed kind of overall. This really is meant as a stopgap. I think, we just from that graphic, we saw the ability to just remove 5 trees, kind of carte blanche is absurd. So I think this helps fix that. A lot of the trees we have coming down are non-development ones. So I hope this provides that stopgap until we can kick off the kind of overall the rewrite of that code. So.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Kuntz.
So just for clarity, we're removing the tree canopy percentage and just we're replacing
Correct.
the 5 and percentage with just one tree.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's the proposal. Yes.
Councilmember Armistead.
Semi-related question. We have a city arborist? I thought we did not have one.
We don't have one on staff. We, as part of the NOVA team that we have doing our reviews and inspections, and our building official, they have an arborist that's part of their team as well. She's not here like day to day. She mostly is involved when it comes to permitting.
Okay.
She will do field inspections from time to time, but she's mostly involved with like tree removal permits and reviews and things like that.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Henshaw.
I'm going to be difficult, and I'd like to add some sort of verbiage that says no trees to be removed within the city's right of way without additional inspection or without an arborist's approval or something like that. Because to me, the tree canopies that are in our right of ways really help with heat island indexing and everything. So I don't know what that would look like, but even if it's just as simple as,
You're already not supposed to do that.
well, I know, but it happens. So if we can add some verbiage in there that just clarifies that, that would be the only thing I'd like to see here. And then this is great. I'd like it a little bit more stringent. So.
Councilmember Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I agree with Councilmember Henshaw on that, and I'm a big advocate of the tree survey, so I think that needs to be required on that regardless. Once you get it once, that's it. Also, I'm really in favor of planting a tree in place of a dangerous tree. If you're taking one down, I understand it might be dangerous, might be close to the house, but might not be necessary. If you could just plant one of like size that can grow to that size, back in your yard, because I think that's what we need to do here other than just chopping down trees everywhere. So those are just my 3 comments on top of what I saw. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. So does the age of the tree being removed matter? Do you, in your opinion, think it should?
No, typically it's the health, not the age.
Okay.
And those things are correlated, but not.
And then as he mentioned, the replacement of a tree, if that were the case, can we ensure that it's not only equal size, but not a crepe myrtle, for example?
So the way in the current proposal, the way it would work, if it were adopted as it's written, you would get one that would need to be for a reason. And with that one, you wouldn't have to replant anything. If you do more than that, you would need to do the full protection plan. You would need to verify that your lot had the canopy coverage that was required in the tree ordinance. And if you were lacking, you would then have to plant something to make up that difference.
And this is really a stopgap until the city comes up with a more comprehensive plan. So rather than, I think the idea was rather than have staff go in and like try to synthesize all this, let's come up with something quick. And then next year when we hire this outside organization, they'll come up with like, listen to the bigger picture concerns.
Okay. Yeah. Outside of that, which is a little bit off topic or overhang, I know you didn't necessarily want to get into that, but tree limbs, things of that nature, that's separate. But if you're not taking down the entire tree and you just want to shave some limbs off,
Pruning.
that's
That's already something that we.
okay, totally different.
Yeah. That's already something that there's standards that are referenced in the code for how you prune a tree appropriately. So
Okay.
without threatening to kill
Killing
it.
it.
So don't do what GDOT does or Georgia Power does. I mean.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
All right. I think that was everybody, right? No, did I get you, Councilman Cruz? Okay.
So we're saying one tree and they have to prove that it's dead or dying or something, right? You said?
Yes, when they would submit for a removal permit, they would have to justify it and, either that's damage that it's caused or is causing or some kind of just proof of like its health, like is it hollow? Is it, have half of its limbs missing, leaves, things like that. There's
So what would be the scenario? Because this happened to me. I had these 3 trees that were hollowed out on the inside. The bark was all falling off of them.
Yeah.
They got diseased at the same time. I wouldn't be able to cut all 3 of them down. What would that?
And that's, well, not being an arborist, in that scenario, it would really depend on how diseased they were and in the opinion of the arborist, if they were likely to fall, which there's typically signs of that a tree is either leaning or something like that, that it is decaying to the point that it's about to fail.
I mean, like these trees in my property, there were no leaves in the top limbs. And the tree canopy had like shrunk down to almost nothing. And, they came out and looked at it and the bark was all falling off of them. And it looked like something happened to all 3 of them. They were the same species of trees too. I think they were tulip poplars.
Yeah.
And so I'm just making sure that if somebody had that happen on their property, the city's not saying, well, you can only cut one of them down.
Unsatisfying answer is it depends. And to clarify again, like if, like in an emergency situation, like, it is visibly leaning up your house and obviously dead, and things like that, there is still the option for an emergency removal. But it is kind of situation dependent on what's happening to the tree and the shape of your property and things like that. So.
Because my purpose of this is, and what somebody in the public comment said, we've got people that are cutting perfectly healthy trees down. And they're getting permits to cut perfectly healthy trees down. And I want to stop that, but I don't want to impact if somebody has, trees that died on their property and more than one at a time. So I'm an example of that happening. I had 3 trees that, I don't know, there was some kind of bugs ate them up or what happened, but all 3 of these same tulip poplars had the same thing happen at once. And I don't want people to not, to come to the city and they said, no, you have to leave 2 of those up. And then, if we do that and then a big windstorm comes and one of the trees we deny them being removed falls on their house, that's not a good thing for us either. I mean, that happened to me. I'd sue the city. Like I told them this tree was dangerous. They told me I couldn't cut it down and it fell on my house.
But you said there's the emergency provision in this that would.
But a dying tree is not always an emergency. That's kind of the distinction.
Right. I mean, I guess I was thinking we were doing one, we were going from 5 to 1 I didn't realize we were also saying that you're only allowed to cut one dead tree down a year. And that's kind of, that to me is problematic. Yeah, go.
So one other thing we added that didn't get highlighted is in the ordinance, it calls for a licensed arborist from a like known organization to rule on these things. And I think when you have somebody there coming in to say this tree is dead or dying, so yeah, it can be taken down, they also are qualified to say it is a present danger to the house. So if you have a licensed arborist who comes in and says, yes, I can look at the top of this tree and it's starting to die, but it still has 10 years of life left of producing some leaves and it's not likely to fall, then we don't have to worry about that. But if they're looking at it in your case and say all of these are completely dead and are at risk, that starts to fall, I would believe, Austin, under the emergency scenario where you need to be able to take these down.
If it was ruled an emergency, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got provisions in there for an arborist to speak on that, and then planning can let people take those proper trees down.
Because I mean, the other thing from a resident's point, from a resident's perspective is that, having three trees cut down, you have them come out and cut down one tree and it's $5,000. But if you have all three of them done at once, it might be $7,000. But if you have them come back 3 different instances, those same trees are going to cost $15,000 to have them removed. I just want to be careful here that we're not over. I mean, we're trying. To me, I thought we were trying to fix the problem of cutting 5 healthy trees down, which we all agree I think is a bad thing. But if somebody's got 5 diseased trees on their property, to then say you can only cut one of them down unless you can get an arborist to say this tree's about to fall on your house, I think that, to me, that feels like we're going a little too far. But
I will say whatever we
maybe
do.
the only person that ends up voting no on this, because I think the residents have a little bit of rights to deal with dead trees on their property.
Councilmember Henshaw.
So I'll piggyback off that because there are shady arborists out there who are licensed arborists who are more than happy to come out to your house and certify that a tree is diseased and dying, and they'll write a letter and state that, and that's not a good thing. And maybe we can have a kind of a secondary line of defense where if they come to you and say, they come to the city and say, we've got 3 diseased and dying trees on the property, here's a letter from an arborist, and we'll say, great, our arborist will go inspect and double check. I'm more than happy for the city to go out and verify for that a non-shady opinion is being given for the sort of dangerous tree or disease and dying tree removals. But I definitely want to keep it to that one for the non-hurt specimen or non-dying specimens. But I've dealt with it many times where clients will just be like, well, I found an arborist who's willing to get the tree removed. And it was like, there are people out there that will do it. So I want to find a way to stop that loophole because it's pretty prevalent. So I agree with you that we need to make sure that people can take out legitimately diseased and dying trees, but not the ones that they just pretend are because they want to remove. So I don't know what exactly that is other than having our arborist to verify.
Well, Councilmember Kuntz, I guess I'll say, personally, I have concerns about people's property rights being taken away by, limiting what you can do with the trees on your property. I think that there are different philosophies about it. Sounds like the council is kind of more in the direction of, wanting to take a very hard line, but I do think that hard line, there are going to be people on the edges of that who are going to be hurt. And that's something, with every ordinance, there's somebody who gets caught in that place. So, personally, I feel like, property owners should have a little bit more leeway in doing what they want on their property. However, I think there are reasons to want to preserve the tree canopy too.
No, I get that too. So what would be the process if someone, I keep using my case, and they said there's 3 trees on my property that the whole top of the canopy is bare. you know, the tree's dying, it's got the bark's all falling off the side of the tree. Would, you know, would, if they, who makes that decision and would say, no, you can't do that? And then what would the process be?
In the way that this is written, so the one would be covered by the, whatever, the permit.
Come on.
And then for anything above that one, you would need to go through the full process. So the tree protection plan, tree replacement. If you're lacking in the density units that are required on the site, you'd need to either pay us recompense if you couldn't replant it or replant it somewhere else on the site. So that is a longer process and a more involved process.
Okay. But I know we also
There
have
is an avenue. We're not just going to tell you no. It's just, you know, how much, like how much professional involvement do you want with an arborist?
No, I mean, I get if I had to, you know, hire, you know, get a tree protection plan done or a tree plan done for my property to be able to bring this forward. I know we have do we still do the tree planting thing with Trees Atlanta? Would those trees count as a replacement for a homeowner?
Yes, I'm blanking on how much they count for, because Trees Atlanta, especially for like the fruit trees and stuff, usually has like the
Like, it
little
wouldn't count for a specimen.
twiggy ones, but no, they wouldn't count as like a specimen. So I'll just say too, from experience with like doing permitting and development stuff here, like I would hazard that most of our residential lots are probably good in our current tree ordinance when it comes to density units on the site, because really big mature trees count for a lot, because that's kind of the goal that we're trying to get to. And they count for a lot too when you're saving them as opposed to cutting them down. We're going through it right now with across the street at the old Oasis building, trying to get them to preserve a couple of the trees because they count for a lot when it comes to the landscaping.
Right.
I can't guarantee that, but that's.
And I think somebody was saying something that you replace it with the same size tree.
Not
That
the
can
same,
grow.
not the same.
That can
size.
grow.
Yeah, that can grow to the same.
Right. So I could plant a new tulip poplar that's like a 6-foot tree to replace a 65-foot tree if it got cut, if I had to cut down because it was dead. Because I obviously can't afford to have somebody come in and plant a 65-foot tree in my house.
Yeah.
That $1 million or
They
something.
die again too.
Right. Okay, as long as there's a process that somebody can work through, maybe it's for the few outliers that would have included me. You know, if there was a hoop that I have, a jumpable hoop, then I'm okay with this.
Councilmember Evans, did you have something?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure we address the entire tree, including the stump and removal.
You're required to grind the stump.
So
Our
grind
ordinance
it,
requires you to
remove
grind
it.
the stump and remove it. Yeah.
However, what if they want to use it as a fire pit or something creative? Again, that's going to the property
Nobody's
rights.
ever
though.
asked me.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, the ordinance says you're supposed to grind the stump.
I think council needs to decide if they want to change that or not.
Yeah, that's the only exception to that is in the stream buff.
Although I will say that there's a tree that came down in Brook Park and there's still a stump there, so it'd be nice to, yeah, to abide by our ordinance.
Well, I didn't see it in here, so I just want to make sure it addressed it.
It's, I don't know exactly where, it's somewhere in there.
Okay.
Except for in a stream buffer. So, you know,
So stump removals front or backyard?
yes,
Hmm.
it's in a stream buffer.
So should something like that be in there if you want to, if you grind it, but want to make it a fire pit or?
Question for y'all.
I think, well, is that even like part of the tree ordinance rewrite? The stump grinding thing, will that be part of that?
I mean,
It should be.
I was like, if it's part of that ordinance, then we can consider it then.
nobody has,
I think it's outside
nobody has
this
ever
bill.
asked me to keep the stump before. No.
I've gotten complaints about that,
Okay.
but they really just didn't want to grind the stump.
Yeah, I think that it's a different issue than removing their fire pit is.
Yeah.
Play there.
All right. That's it.
Anyone else on this side?
I'll say one more thing. Yeah, and really the goal of this was to be a stopgap to prevent healthy trees from coming down.
Right.
Austin and I have
that.
and Austin and I have talked, and these things can get very complicated and inundated, which is why we wanted to put this in the budget. So I think a lot of these questions, even what Councilwoman Coots brought up, it can be addressed. This works as a stopgap. There's some studies out there that show leaving part of a dead tree up that's 6 feet tall or something could be a home to wildlife. I think we can talk about the stump thing and different provisions and stuff like that in the larger one. But the goal of this was over the next 5 months or so, 6 months, however long it's going to take us, we have a stopgap, because I've seen it just in on my street alone, probably 6 to 8 very healthy, very large trees come down this year just for no reason. And I think this hopefully accomplishes that. And then we can get to all the kind of more nuanced things with this third party we're going to work with.
All right. Well, this is the first read. Would anyone like to waive first read?
I'll make a motion to waive first read.
We have a second?
You said that right?
Okay.
Harry said.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed amendments to the tree ordinance.
Do we have a second?
Can I make a friendly amendment?
Sure.
To add a note for some sort of additional, just some sort of layer of protection for, additional layer of protection for trees within the right of way? Is there any verbiage that we could add?
I think you said it's already in there, right?
So you're saying just to make sure that it's clear in the language that trees in the right of way are not to be.
Correct. Is that a possibility to have?
Yeah,
That's your motion. Do we have a second to that amendment?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, so everyone approves of it. So we need to,
Okay.
we have a second to the,
Yeah, amendment. So we need a
do
second.
we have a second to your?
I'll second that.
Okay, so you're
With the
seconding
friendly amendment.
with the friendly amendment. Any discussion? All right, Councilmember Ray,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Armistead,
Yes.
Councilmember Henshaw.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Kuntz.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We're going to have an executive session, but before that, we'll have council comments. We will exit this room. People are welcome to stay, but we're going to turn off the video afterwards, and we will not be discussing anything except to make the motion to come out of executive session. And we don't expect action to be taken. So with that, we'll start with Councilmember Evans,
Comments?
Councilmember Simmons.
I'd just like to make a comment about what happened today. You know, no matter what side you're on, sending love and prayers out for the Kurt family. If you guys heard, you know, politics shouldn't be like that. You know, America was made with different views and people debating and talking it out. And the way it happens now is crazy. So it's just really sad.
Councilmember Armistead,
No comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Henshaw.
I would just like to thank our officers who are here tonight and all the other officers that work with Doraville for their work. It's not easy. And we have exemplary staff and officers here. So thanks to them.
All right, Councilmember Kuntz.
No, again, I agree. Thanks officers. And it was very impressive seeing all the folks that showed up for Officer Rose's funeral, that the Camp County officer that lost his life. That was a very impressive service, and people came from all over the country, and it deserved it. I mean, the guy was young. He had just come out of his official training class and stuff, and he'd been an officer for a little while, but when he found out there was an active shooter thing, this guy, he just drove right into the middle of the thing and stopped the shooter, and he lost his life, but he saved. There was, this guy was fixing to start shooting into a kindergarten with a bunch of kids, and for someone to selflessly just throw them, it literally was, the equivalent of throwing himself on a grenade, was just, got to have a lot of respect for folks that are willing to do that for public service. I said I wouldn't. I don't think I could do it, and just it was a very emotional thing for me to see that and see how much love his family, his little kid, wearing a shirt that said, my daddy's my hero. It just, yeah, it was pretty gut wrenching. And like Warren said, politics has gotten so crazy and people are so divisive, and there's so many people out there that are just making up lies, making up mistruths, trying to, get people against each other, get people hating us, lying about what we've been doing to the public. It makes this job very difficult. And there's no reason it should be like that, because we're all your neighbors. You folks up here, obviously some of the best folks I've worked with in government, and been pleased, proud to work with you guys, and hope y'all can continue. So that's what I got.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think I'll echo that. Rhetoric matters a lot. We see a lot of anger and hate out there. I know I've seen over the years, police departments get a lot of flack for things they probably shouldn't. And if you could go and look every month when the police report gets posted, there's some pretty crazy things they have to deal with, and they're never coming up here trying to brag about it. And likewise with this horrible thing that happened to the Kirk family today, we have this rhetoric over time that drives people towards hate and divisiveness. And obviously that gets to the mentally unstable, assuming individuals who will do horrible acts like this. So agree or disagree with anything going on, just try to keep in mind that the rhetoric you use and the way you treat people has a compound effect over time that can lead to these things. So
Thank you. And Councilmember Simmons reminded me to remind everyone out there that on Saturday, we're going to be kicking off Welcoming Week. Doraville is a welcoming city. And we will have our first event right here on Van Fleet Circle starting at 11 a.m. on Saturday. So look forward to seeing folks out there. There'll be performances, all kinds of different celebrations. And, I think we're going to be celebrating a lot of the things that make Doraville such a special place to be. So I hope I'll see a lot of folks there. And with that, I would like to see if anyone would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, litigation, real estate, or cybersecurity.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.